Bills Mafia, what's going on? You know our team is always looking to improve, to get better every single day, because that's the only way we bring A. Lombardi back to Buffalo. And if you believe in this team's fight, make sure you smash that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe so you never miss an update from me. Now, let's get into today's story because we've got some really intriguing news about the wide receiver room. On one hand, Curtis Samuel is back on the field and already catching the eye of Josh Allen. On the other hand, a familiar face, Gabe Davis, could be on the verge of returning to Buffalo after a tough year away. To storylines, one wide receiver group that's absolutely critical to our Super Bowl chances. Let's break it all down. First, let's talk about Curtis Samuel. Now, if you've been following camp, you know Samuel's been sidelined since late July with that nagging hamstring issue. For a speed guy, that's no small thing. But this past week, Bills fans finally got to see number one back out there in team drills 7-on-7, 11-on-11, moving with that same shiftiness we saw flashes of in the playoffs. And here's the key: Josh Allen noticed it right away after practice. When asked about Samuel's return, Allen's face lit up. He said, "It's a little bit of juice. The shiftiness, the quickness that he has when the ball's in his hands, that's big." Bills Mafia. Josh doesn't throw compliments around lightly. If your MVP quarterback feels your presence right away, you're doing something right. Remember, Curtis Samuel isn't just some depth piece. He's been a proven playmaker in this league. Yeah. Last year, the stats weren't eye-popping: 31 catches, 253 yards, but context matters. He battled a foot injury early in 2024 and only really started clicking down the stretch. And when the lights were brightest, he delivered. We all remember that wild card game against Denver. Samuel catches a short pass, shakes loose from his man, and suddenly he's gone 55 yards to the house, leaving all-pro corner Pat Surtain in the dust. That's the kind of electricity Buffalo needs in this offense. That's why Josh Allen was smiling this week. And let's not forget Samuel's best career season came back in 2020 with Carolina under, guess who? Joe Brady, over 1,000 yards from scrimmage in that offense. Now Brady is calling plays in Buffalo. You think that's a coincidence? I don't. This is the perfect chance for Samuel to reignite his career. But as exciting as Samuel's return is, Bills Mafia, there's another name floating around that should catch your attention: Gabe Davis. Yeah, you heard that right. Our old deep ball specialist might be circling back home. Let's rewind a bit. Davis gave us 4 strong seasons in Buffalo. He was never the true WR1, but he was a big play weapon when he 7 touchdowns in for years, including playoff moments we'll never forget. But when the Bills drafted Keon Coleman last spring, the writing was on the wall. Davis hit free agency and landed a nice deal with Jacksonville: 3 years, $39 million. But here's where it went south. Davis' lone season with the Jaguars was rough. Just 20 catches for 239 yards to touchdowns, and then a torn meniscus in Week 11. By the time Jacksonville added Travis Hunter in the draft, Davis was no longer in their plans. They cut ties. Now 26 years old, Davis is trying to keep his career alive. He just had a medical follow-up with Pittsburgh, but reports say he's also visiting Buffalo. Think about that. Gabe Davis back in Orchard Park, the same stadium where he once torched Kansas City for 4 touchdowns in that unforgettable playoff game. The question is, does a reunion make sense? Let's lay it out right now. Buffalo's WR room is interesting, but far from settled. Khalil Shakir looks ready to step into a bigger role. He's been steady, reliable, and Josh Allen clearly trusts him. Keon Coleman, the rookie, is the future. He's got size, hands, and swagger, but we can't expect him to dominate from day one. Joshua Palmer came over from the Chargers, but he's been inconsistent. Some days he looks like a legit no, 2. Other days he disappears. Curtis Samuel brings versatility and speed, but we just talked about the injury history. Laviska Shenault Jr. and others are fighting for those final depth spots. Adding Gabe Davis back into that mix, that's stability. That's a guy who already knows Josh Allen, already knows this locker room, already knows what it means to play in Buffalo. He's not coming back as a WR2 with big expectations. He'd be a role player, a red zone threat, a deep ball option when you need him. And for a team with Super Bowl aspiration, depth like that matters. Now, let's not ignore the emotional side. Gabe Davis was loved in Buffalo. His playoff heroics are part of Bills lore. Fans wore his jersey proudly. A reunion wouldn't just be about X's and O's, it would be about rekindling that bond. And you better believe Josh Allen would welcome him back. These two already have chemistry. In an offense that's still finding its new identity post Stefon Diggs, having familiar connections could make the transition smoother. But let's be real. It's not without risk. Davis' health is the big question. A torn meniscus isn't a career ender, but it can zap explosiveness if he's not the same vertical threat. Buffalo has to be careful about what role they envision for him. So here's the fun part. Imagine this Curtis Samuel fully healthy, bringing that short area quickness and versatility, while Gabe Davis returns as a situational deep ball weapon. Pair that with Shakir's reliability and Coleman's upside, plus Dalton Kincaid at tight end, and suddenly this Bills offense has options everywhere. Joe Brady would have a mix of speed, size, and chemistry. Josh Allen wouldn't have to force the ball to just one guy. Defenses wouldn't know who to key in on. That's how you build a dangerous offense in 2025. Josh Allen just got a massive win ahead of the team's final preseason game. And believe me when I say this, it could completely change the course of the regular season. If you've been following the news coming out of Orchard Park lately, you know it's been a little bit more bad than good. Head coach Sean McDermott recently admitted that the Bills are still looking for someone reliable to play opposite Taylor Rapp at safety. That's not what you want to hear this late in camp. But then came the good news, and it's not just good, it's huge. The Bills announced that wide receiver Khalil Shakir is rehabbing well and should be ready for the season opener against the Baltimore Ravens on September 7th. For Josh Allen, this is like Christmas coming early. MC Dermott himself said there have been no setbacks. He even mentioned seeing Shakir in the hallway that morning, having a conversation, and walking away encouraged. That may sound small, but make no mistake, it's massive. Why? Because Allen and Shakir together on the field is a completely different dimension for this offense. It's a connection that's already proven to be electric, and it's about to be rekindled at exactly the right time. Let's rewind for a moment. In 2023, Shakir was just starting to find his footing. 39 catches, 611 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Nothing to scoff at, but it was just a glimpse. Then came 2024, and suddenly he wasn't just a role player anymore. He was a reliable weapon. 76 catches, 821 yards, 4 touchdowns, and according to Pro Football Focus, some of his advanced numbers were among the very best in the league. Bills fans, did you catch this? His avoided tackles per route, #1 in the league. His receptions per route, 2nd overall. That means this guy isn't just catching passes, he's making plays, moving chains, and creating problems for defenses in ways that don't always show up in the box score. And that's exactly why Josh Allen needs him. Allen is at his absolute best when he has that guy who can break free in the middle of the field, shake defenders, and turn routine plays into explosive ones. Shakir is that guy. We've seen it before, and we're about to see it again. Now, let's talk about the injury itself. Shakir went down during the return of the blue and red practice, a night that was supposed to be about excitement and Bills' pride. Instead, fans watched one of Allen's top targets hobble off, and he hasn't been back on the field since. But here's the critical part. Every update since then has been consistent. No setbacks. Steady progress. Eyes locked on week 1 against the Ravens. And if you think that's not significant, let me remind you of something. That Ravens game, it's no ordinary opener. It's a tone setter against one of the toughest teams in the AFC. Lamar Jackson and that Baltimore defense are going to test Buffalo right out of the gate. If Allen has Shakir on the field, suddenly the Bills aren't just fighting uphill. They've got one of their most dynamic playmakers ready to go toe-to-toe with an elite defense. McDermott did give fans a little more insight during the preseason blowout loss to the Bears. Shakir didn't travel with the team. And no, that's not because things got worse. It's because the team wanted him right here in Buffalo, rehabbing with the best resources available. That's a sign of how carefully they're managing this. They're not rushing him back, but they're also not pulling him away from the goal, being fully ready when it matters most. Now, of course, injuries remain a major storyline across the roster. Let's not sugarcoat it. The list is long. Cam Lewis, Tyler Bass, Curtis Samuel, Javon Solomon, Edifun Ulofoshio, Nelson Caesar, Alec Anderson, Shaq Thompson, Connor McGovern, all limited. And then you've got guys like Tylen Grable, Maxwell Hairston, Cedric Van Pran Granger, Jordan Hancock, Keontae Jenkins, completely out of practice. It's a lot, and with roster cut downs looming, it creates more questions than answers. Who's healthy enough to hold a roster spot? Who might get stashed away until later in the year? And how much pressure does this put on Allen to carry the load in September? But this is why Shakir's return feels like such a turning point. It's not just about one player being healthy, it's about the ripple effect. With Shakir in the lineup, defenses can't just zero in on Stefon Diggs' replacement or Dalton Kincaid. They have to respect Shakir's speed, his separation, his ability to turn a 6-yard catch into a 20-yard gain. That opens up the playbook for Allen. It creates balance, it gives Joe Brady options. And it might just be the difference between starting 1-0 or 0-1 for Josh Allen. This is a win before the regular season even begins. Getting Shakir back means he doesn't have to play hero ball on every snap. It means he can trust his guys, spread the ball around, and build rhythm before the grind of the season truly sets in. And let's be honest, a relaxed, in rhythm Josh Allen. That's MVP level Josh Allen. That's the version of number 17 that makes the entire league nervous. Now, let me ask you, Bills Mafia, how big do you think Khalil Shakir's return is for this offense? Do you believe this duo of Allen and Shakir can pick up right where they left off last year? And do you see this as the spark that helps the Bills overcome all these injury concerns heading into the season opener? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because I know this fanbase has opinions, and I want to hear them. And before I wrap up, remember this: even when things look shaky at camp, this team is built to respond. Allen has been through adversity before. McDermott knows how to rally a locker room. And with players like Shakir fighting their way back, the Bills are setting themselves up for something special. Bills Mafia, I'll say this: Curtis Samuel's return is already giving Josh Allen juice, and that's the kind of spark this team needs. But the idea of Gabe Davis coming back, that could give this wide receiver room a balance of old chemistry and new energy. This is how championship rosters get built, not just with stars, but with depth, versatility, and players who rise at the right time. So I want to hear from you. Do you want to see Gabe Davis back in Buffalo? Do you believe Curtis Samuel will have a breakout season under Joe Brady? Or do you think the team should keep moving forward with the new faces and not look back? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if you're excited about the direction of this receiver room. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of our updates as we march toward the season, because Bills Mafia, you already know, this team is chasing greatness, and together, we're going to cover every step of the journey.